What is going on, Sandals Church Youth? Justin Knowles here. I'm the network youth lead here at Sandals Church, and we are so glad that you're joining us here online on our online service. We have a great night planned for you. We have a message, we have groups, we have all of those things. And if this is your very first time, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. And in fact, if this is your normal thing now, go ahead and click that share button. Get people in here to have them join in on the fun. As we said, we got a spectacular service planned, but first we want to have a little bit of fun by this video that we like to call the waxing. A couple months ago, all of our male youth leads got together because of the Youth Winter Conference, and because you guys signed up like crazy, is that all the male youth leads had to wax their armpits. This happened months ago. I'm just now starting to get hair underneath my armpits again. I know, TMI, super fun, super painful, but enjoy in our rivaling pain, so that way you could be entertained. So here is the waxing. How long will I not have hair?
A couple weeks, yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Yep, I got it. We're good now.
Right now. Oh. And Jemima Sweet Syrup, that feels so good.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah.
Can I turn it right now or should we wait?
But I just got nervous right now. Oh, that's warm.
All right, I need Moses. Come hold my hand. Here she goes. Oh! Oh my God, that was the worst one.
Quiet on set.
We're just doing one strip.
Yeah, just one.
Okay.
Because someone didn't hit the record button. I'm not going to name names. They know who they are. This is for them.
Oh God, I'm nervous. Oh my God. I'm kind of tearing up a little bit. But the anticipation's the worst part. Oh, okay. The little ones hurt.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, lightheaded. Wow. That was,
No, you're good.
I'm here for you. Oh my gosh. Ow, that hurts too.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's on the back of it.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
Ow! Yikes! Why are my why is my hurt so?
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's a lot.
I usually don't get very many emails. And if I do,
My gosh. I don't want to do that. Mid-sentence.
Oh, yeah, that. Wow. It's like a perfect rectangle.
Oh, little armpit goatee. A soul patch armpit. For the youth, for the youth, for the youth.
sorry.
Okay.
Hold on.
For the youth. Bring your friend. Thank you. I appreciate you. Oh, yikes. Dude.
Like, this is where we're starting off for winter conference. What do we do for next year? Where does the max go?
Is camp next? Like,
Summer? I don't know if we're gonna do this for summer camp.
Doing it.
What?
what do the girls have to say?
Summer camp in Central.
Yeah, what are the girls need to do something next year? All right, Amber, here we go. Ugh, it still hurts. Even just watching it again. It hurt during it, but it actually hurts watching it again. It's like a little bit of a PTSD type situation here. And here's the thing, that's super painful, but you know what's not painful? Community groups, like that segue over there, right? Here's the thing, is that every single week we are meeting online. This is our 5th week now, I think, that we're meeting online, and that's kind of crazy. And this late into the game, as we're not physically meeting together, doesn't mean that community stops. We still are having community every single week. Right after the message, groups are still happening. And so maybe you're not plugged into a group. Maybe you're starting to feel isolated even more so as this is extending and extending. But that doesn't have to be at the sacrifice of community. We want you in a group. And so maybe you're not connected to one. Maybe you want to join one. If you shoot a message to sandalsyouth@sandalschurch.com, right about here is where you should see that email. We would love to get you connected. We would love to get you in community, because here's the refreshing thing is that groups are refreshing. They are. When you have a group of people, of your peers and a couple of leaders who love you, and you can be real with yourselves, God, and others, there's something about that the church has that the world does not offer. And we want you to be a part of it. It's the best thing that we do, and you need to be a part of it. So shoot us a message, reach out, even put it in the comments, and we will love to connect with you, with one of your youth leads at where you live, whoever lives closest to you. So make sure you go ahead and do that. And honestly, like, what's better than having a good neighbor around you to be in isolation with? Now, speaking of good neighbors, here's something that we have done this week, is that this week we challenge our youth leads to simply be that, to be a good neighbor, to go out and to serve, because the truth is that you could still serve those around you even though we're not supposed to be out and about and gather in big areas. And so you could still be a good neighbor. You could still reach out and be the hands and feet of Jesus to those in your neighborhood, maybe even those in your house. I don't know, but we challenge our youth leads to be good neighbors this week. And so check this video out as they went out and about and served their community.
What is up, guys? Blake Ferris here. I'm one of your Hunter Park youth leads, and we are loving on our neighbors today. So I got a few gifts that I think that my neighbor's really gonna like. I'm making some safe assumptions of who she is because I don't know her, other than her name is Jessica. She has a cat flag in her front yard, so I got her cat food because she either has a cat or I know she feeds the stray, so she can use it either way. I also got her Kit Kats because it has the word cat in it, so she's probably gonna like it. And then I got her a Starbucks gift card, because that's like a casual gift you give everybody. So I'm gonna wrap this bad boy up, I'm gonna give it at her doorstep, and I hope that she likes it. What do I mean by the cat flag?
I decided to make some cookies for one of my friends, because even though we're stuck at home during this quarantine, it doesn't mean that we can't do something nice for someone. So let's get started, yeah? Here, let them cool off for a little bit. Got the cookies. Go over and tell my friend.
Yo, what's up, Sandals Church Youth? This week we were encouraged to do something good for our neighbors. So what we did is we're gonna be dropping off Happy Easter cards, because today is Easter, and it's just gonna have an opportunity for them to get to know us a little more and to basically do a little exchanging of letters as neighbors. All right, guys, so I'm about to take you on the drop off, but first, you know the drill. We gotta mask up. All right, let's go. Hey guys, well, thank you for doing that little walk downstairs to our neighbors with us. I hope that in this time that you guys can be encouraged to do something for the people around you. And even if it can't be something big, even if you can't do something grandiose, my hope and prayer is that you would do even little things with great love and love on the people around you just like Jesus did. So Sandals Church Youth, I love you. God bless you. I'll see you guys later.
I'm gonna go over to my neighbor's house right now, and I'm going to pick up the poop from his dog in his backyard. You know, it's a dirty job, but being a good neighbor, and somebody's gotta do it. So I got my mask, I got my gloves, I'm gonna keep my distance, and I'm gonna go surprise him by doing something nice for him. So here we go. Dude. All right, we gotta go find some dog food. We're on the hunt. Oh, dude. That's a good neighbor right there. Hey, it's a dirty job, but a good neighbor has got to do it, so.
What is up, Sandals Church Youth? Today we're gonna be a good neighbor. I actually have a cake in the oven right now, so we're gonna get that right now. We are gonna get it and we're gonna give it to him. This is the cake we're giving. Did you think I baked the cake? Definitely not. We're not gonna give a cake that they can't even eat. That wouldn't be nice. All right, we are walking to our neighbor's house and I have the cake in hand. Hello. I wanted to give you guys this cake I bought.
Oh, okay.
You guys are appreciated and loved, and so this is for you guys. Have a good rest
Thank
of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, the mask is off because I'm back home, but seriously, that was so much fun. And it was really easy to do. I know I didn't get the best reaction angle ever, but I would encourage you guys at home to do the same because it was super easy. And if you actually know how to bake a cake, bake a cake. But if I baked a cake, they would probably die.
What's up, guys? It's Kyle from the Lake Arrowhead campus, and if you can't tell, we got like over a foot of snow up in the mountains, so I wanted to go out, help some people out, shovel their driveways. This is a great time to serve others, great time to show people the love of Christ. Really excited about this. Let's go check it out. All right, guys, that's one driveway down for me. Now it's your turn. Get up, get outside, help somebody out this week. Bye.
So I had to get really creative for this one. So you gotta play to your strengths. That's the key. I love writing letters, so I'm gonna write them a letter and give them some other goodies. You guys, so I'm back. Check it out, right? Okay, so what's inside of them are some chocolate eggs because Easter basket vibes, obviously. The letter that I wrote them with words from my heart. And then instead of buying groceries for them, I went ahead and got them a gift card for their groceries. I'm about to go drop them off. Let's see how it goes. Here we go. So the reactions. I didn't get to see any because one of my neighbors has a gate, so I literally had to like ninja drop the basket in there. Oh, one of the neighbor with the gate just sent me a text, so she got it. So I got to see a reaction. That was cool. I'll read it later. Anyways, so the other neighbor doesn't even have a doorbell, but based on the dog's reactions when I would come on in and drop the baskets by, total success. And it was super fun. I think just being someone that isn't super great at the cutesy gifts, to think of fun and creative ways to still love and care for my neighbors. So 10 out of 10 recommend.
Today we want to serve our neighborhood and our community, and one way we thought about doing that is by donating blood. All right, guys, so someone couldn't give blood today. Me, I couldn't give blood today. Good job on Jasmine, and good job on for trying. I'll come back tomorrow, but yeah, I'll dehydrated. Drink your water, kids.
The point is, during this quarantine, we have this idea that we can't help people, we can't be kind because we can't be in contact. But there are so many ways to be kind to your neighbor. So find a way, whether it's donating blood, you have to be 15 though, just saying, or writing a card, do something kind. Hey.
Definitely, that's such a good word. You don't have to, physically be with people to help people. So get creative, guys. Start thinking of ways you can help your community, your friends. Maybe it's just reaching out to some friends that you haven't heard in a while and saying, hey, how are you? How can I be praying for you? Come join on Wednesday night. Either way, guys, go out there, make a difference, because you are the difference. You are the community. We love you. Catch you later. Bye.
My way I'm gonna love my neighbor is by baking some cookies. Yeah, that's right. Got some white chocolate, got some dark chocolate, homemade cookies straight from my grandma, right here. That's how we did it, and we're gonna deliver it. We live in an apartment, and we're gonna go next door, and we're gonna bless these people and ask for prayer if they need prayer. We're here for them. See you later.
Hello.
Guys, we wanted to give you guys some cookies and bless you guys. No problem. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
baking some cookies right now. We're gonna bake some cookies, write some letters, and go drop them off at our neighbor's place. But I don't want it to be about me this week. I wanna highlight one of our youth leaders named Nicole and her daughters who went out to spread some love. So go ahead and check this out.
Today is Easter, and we made little Easter goodies to deliver to some of the girls' friends and some of our families.
Man, isn't that awesome? Doesn't that give you like all the feels that you get to see your youth leads going out and serving their neighbors? That's so rad. And here's the thing is that you could do the same thing. We're actually gonna challenge you to do the same thing. Even though you're at home and in isolation, you could still go out and serve your neighbors. So we want you to do what the youth leads just did, is film yourself or your family going out and serving a neighbor, serving your neighborhood, and turn it into us at Sandals Youth at sandalschurch.com, and you could be highlighted next week on the online service. That we would love to see what you guys are doing in your communities, that you're still serving those neighbors and that you're being a good neighbor. So go ahead, go out, obviously keep in mind of all the social distancing with the masks and the gloves and all that stuff, but go out and show us how you are serving your neighbors and how you're being a good neighbor. And we would love to share what you're doing and how you're being the light of Jesus in what could be a really dark time for a lot of people. So if you take a video of yourself, turn it in to Sandals Youth at sandalschurch.com, and you could be highlighted in next week's online service. So send in those videos, bring them in, because we would love to see what you have going. Now, here is the deal. Is that we have a fantastic message for you. Scotty Kesey from the Woodcrest campus gave a message, and we're in week 2 of this series called Ought Not. And it's basically what we're talking about is that there's 4 times that Jesus told us not to do something. If you watched last week, which if you haven't, you should definitely go back on our YouTube channel and make sure that you do. Dane talked about how Jesus said to fear not. And then this week, Scotty's gonna be talking about sin not. And there's a really powerful message and really powerful passage that he goes through. And it's a really challenging one for us in how we daily live our lives as a follower of Jesus. So without further ado, here is Scotty Kesey from the Woodcrest campus giving his message. Check it out.
What is going on, Sandals Church Youth? My name is Scotty. I am the youth lead for our Woodcrest campus, and I am excited to be joining you for week 2 of our Ought Not series. And if you missed week 1 and you're tuning in for the first time, go to our YouTube channel and check out last week from Dane Perzak from our Palm Ave campus. He did an incredible job and looked at the first not command of Jesus in fear not. But tonight we're going to be looking at a big not that I think involves both you and I, and we all have it. And it's this command to sin not, to go and sin no more. Now, I know some of you have grown up in the church and you probably have heard this word sin before. You probably heard it in Sunday school, or maybe you heard it in small group, or maybe you heard it in a sermon, or you just are a Christian and you know what the term sin means. But I know that there's a handful of you who have no idea what this term means. And so what I want to do is I just want to simply define sin so it can give us some context and set the tone before we jump into the story where we see Jesus' response to sin. So simply put, sin is human activity. So what we do, what you do, what we think, what we say, how we act, human activity that is contrary to God's will or plan for our lives. So simply put, it's missing the mark. It's missing the mark from God's plan and standard for our lives. And by the way, the plan and God's will for your life is far better than what the world can offer, what your desires desire, and sin is missing the mark of what God has in store for you. Now tonight we're going to be looking at a powerful story of Jesus' response to sin, of someone who missed the mark.
Now the story picks up in John 8. So if you have your Bible or you got your YouVersion app, you could go ahead and scroll there. But as you kind of turn and flip or scroll or whatever you're doing to get there, I want to set some context for where this story takes place. Now this story takes place at a place called the Temple Mount. Now it's a big deal because this was like the epicenter of God's activity. This is where people came to worship. This is where animal sacrifices came. So this was a loud place. This was a busy place. This was a place that Jesus often went to. And so there are a lot of people who are coming in and out of the Temple Mount. And this is where we pick up our story with Jesus in John chapter 8, picking up in verse 1. It says, Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives. But early the next morning, he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery, and they put her in front of the crowd. Now we pick up this story with Jesus teaching in the early morning, and people were following. Right? If you've ever read the Gospels, if you've ever looked at the life of Jesus, he always attracted a crowd. It didn't really matter what he was doing. People wanted to be there. They wanted to hear him teach. They wanted to see him do a miracle. And so he attracted a crowd. But there was a part of the crowd that kind of showed up, and their names were the Pharisees. These are like the religious know-it-alls. They didn't like Jesus. They had beef with Jesus. They wanted Jesus to get arrested. They wanted him to get trapped, simply because Jesus was kind of disrupting their personal political agenda. So they bring this woman who was caught in the act of adultery. And if you don't know what adultery is, you could ask your parents, they could explain later, but simply put, she slept with someone who was not her husband. And they catch this woman in the act, and they drag her and they bring her in front of Jesus while he's teaching. Okay, and if you love reality TV, like this is a story, and this would make good reality TV. Because here's the deal. Jesus is teaching early in the morning, which means they caught this woman in the act of adultery and probably held her all night and waited to bring her in front of Jesus the next morning. Like they thought this through, they planned, they plotted. And right, it takes two to tango. Where's the guy? But hey, that's not part of the story. And then the story continues. They bring this woman and they respond to Jesus while he's teaching. In verse 4, it says, "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say?" Now, I kind of picture this like, think of like lunch. I remember in high school, like we had a big quad area and everyone was there. And if there was like a dance battle that broke out, we had music that played on Fridays, so people would break out in dance battles. If there was a fight that broke out, like whatever it was, you always notice it starts with a smaller group of people, and then as the drama and suspense builds, right, more and more people gather around. I can only imagine at the Temple Mount with how busy it was, that there was a crowd that Jesus was teaching to, and then now a larger crowd is coming in to kind of see what's going on. And they use the law of Moses, all right? So if you have no idea what that is, it comes from an Old Testament book in the book of Exodus, and Moses was the guy. He was their guy. He's the guy who delivered the Israelites out of slavery from Egypt, right? He's the guy who parted the Red Seas. And it comes straight from this law where they're saying, hey, Jesus, the penalty and price this woman should pay for her act of adultery is to be stoned and put to death. What do you say? And I could probably see them grinning because they're probably thinking the people who've gathered around, they know this law, that they're gonna have our back. We finally got him. He's finally gonna be arrested. And then the story gets even better. Continuing in verse 6. They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. I love this. I love this visual. Jesus is gangster. Like if you don't read the Bible, like he spit in his hands one time and rubbed his spit in some dude's eyes with mud and made him see again. Like he does stuff where you're like, that was what you did. It's awesome. You just need to read it. But they ask him this question. And Jesus doesn't even respond, and he stoops down and he begins to write in the dirt with his finger. Now, no one really knows what he wrote. No one has an idea. It doesn't say. He could have been playing tic-tac-toe or whatever it may have been. But he was writing something that began to rattle some cages in this moment. But what I don't want us to overlook, or specifically who I don't want to overlook, is this woman in this situation. This woman who had been caught in the act of adultery, because I think we can all relate to how this woman feels right now. Like, think about it. Like, think about this woman. She's in the middle of this situation between Jesus and the Pharisees. Right? She probably feels out of place. This isn't her place. Like the Temple Mount, this is probably not where she comes on a daily basis. She probably feels out of place. Like, these aren't her people. They're not for her. They're not here to lift her up and encourage her and help, dust the dirt off of her shoulders and try to help her find freedom in what she may have committed. They're not for her. Just imagine the shame she felt in this moment. Her sin and her wrongdoing exposed in front of everyone. Just imagine that. Just how she must have felt in this moment. And I think a lot of us could relate to that. And we're probably replaying, or maybe you're replaying something in your mind that you may have done maybe an hour ago, where you just feel the weight, where you feel the shame, where you feel the guilt of your sin, of where you messed up. Now, Jesus in this moment could have easily been like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Pharisees. You're absolutely right. The law does say that. So let's go ahead. Let's start throwing stones and put her to death. But that's not what he does in this moment. And the story continues in verse 7. It says, they kept demanding an answer. Jesus is writing and they're like, man, Jesus, answer us. So Jesus stood up and said, all right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. Then he stooped down again and began to write in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with this woman. Now Jesus, he pulled the old switcheroo on him, right? They tried to trap him with this law. They're like, man, we got him. Everyone knows this law. Everyone knows Moses. We got him. He's going to be arrested. This is going to be incredible. But then Jesus flips the question and the law on them. He says, okay, fine. How about those of you who have never sinned? Why don't you throw the first stone? And it doesn't really give clarity and it doesn't really say, but it says they began to slip away one by one, right? Starting with the oldest. I mean, my guess would be that they have a longer list of the areas that they may have messed up in, the areas that they may have missed the mark in, and they began to slip away from oldest to youngest. And what I want us to keep in mind here, which I think oftentimes we can miss, is Jesus is posing this question, saying, hey, if you have no sin, you could throw the first stone. There is only one person in that entire crowd who has no sin, who also doesn't have a stone, and his name is Jesus, the very person who posed the question to these people. And does he use a stone? He does not. And as everyone slipped away, everyone's gone except Jesus and this woman, this is where we get our sin not command, picking up in verse 10. It says, then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Where are the people who brought you here? Where are the people who are saying you messed up? Where are the people who are saying you got caught and you are going to pay the price? Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you? Now, what Jesus is really asking in this question, did even one of them condemn you, is there no one here forcing you to pay for what you've done? Look, there's a penalty and there's a price for your sins. There's no one here forcing you to pay for what you've done. And then she responds, no, Lord. And Jesus said, and I don't want us to miss this because some of us need to hear this tonight. And Jesus says, neither do I. Go and sin no more. We have all been in a place in our lives where we have messed up, where we have fallen short, where we have missed the mark. And maybe there are some of you tonight who have missed the mark, who have fallen short, and you need to hear this, that Jesus is announcing a new way to pay the price for sin. He is saying, no longer are you condemned, no longer are you held accountable for paying the price for your sin. You're free to go. Go and sin no more. And Jesus in this moment he's exposing his heart towards sinners. He's exposing his heart towards you. And in this moment, he urged but did not condemn this woman to leave her life of sin, because here's the thing with sin. Every sin comes with a pre-packaged penalty. Every sin comes with a pre-packaged penalty. Every time you sin, something dies. Every time you sin, think about it, your conscience dies, right? The more you look at porn, the less it becomes a bigger deal. The more you cheat in math and chemistry, the less it becomes a bigger deal, right? The more you gossip about that person, the less it becomes a bigger deal. The more you talk about your self-worth in a negative way, the less it becomes a bigger deal. Sin comes with a pre-packaged penalty. Every time you sin, your conscience dies. Every time you sin, your body, your self-respect, your relationships die. And it's because of the consequences of your sin is a reason Jesus urges you to leave your life of sin. It is because of the consequences of your sins. Jesus is saying, go and sin no more. Now, a little while later, after this encounter with Jesus and this woman, he would go and die on the cross for her adultery. And not only for her and her adultery and the sin that she committed, but for your sin, all of it. And for all of my sin. Look, we just celebrated Easter this past weekend, and we celebrated the fact that Jesus rose from the dead, because that put the flag in the ground, and it says that Jesus not only conquered death, but he conquered sin. He paid the penalty. So you would not have any accusers condemning you and saying you have to pay the price. Jesus paid for it on the cross for you. He wrote the check. He paid off the debt. So you would not be condemned. So you can find a life of freedom and go and sin no more. So my question for you tonight, as we dismiss for groups, is what is your sin? What is your sin? And be real with yourself. What's the sin you've been hiding? What's the sin that nobody knows about? What's the sin that's not much of a big deal anymore because you do it so often? What area of your life do you need to put to death? What area of your life do you need to realize that you don't have to pay the price for that? Because Jesus paid it all for you already. Because here's the thing. I know that this sounds negative, but this is an encouraging message, because we can rest and know that Jesus has already died and paid the price for your sin. There is no more condemnation. There is nothing you have to pay for. There is nothing. And Jesus tonight is urging you to leave the sin that is destroying you. It will eat you alive, and it will grow, and it will kill you. And Jesus, out of his love for you, is urging you to go and sin no more. So as we head to groups and as we dismiss, I'm going to challenge you to be real with yourselves, to really self-evaluate. Where do I need to sin no more? What is my sin? What do I need to turn away from? What do I need a fresh new perspective from? Right? And then you need to be real with God, and you need to be real with others in community. And follow the command that Jesus leaves us with to go and sin no more. Hey, Sandals Church Youth, I love you. I'm so thankful and grateful that I had the opportunity to be able to share with you. I've been praying for you and your group time. Have a great time in groups. We look forward to seeing you next week. Love you. We'll see you later.
What a powerful message, Scotty. Thank you so much for sharing your heart on that. I mean, here's the reality is that sin does kill. And that when Jesus says to sin not, right? Like what Scotty was saying is that's not because God is going to get you, it's because it's that sin is going to kill you. And this is last week and we celebrated Easter, and it's all about Jesus coming to this earth and dying for our sins so that way we could be seen as perfect in the eyes of God when we go to heaven. And that's some of the best news that we could ever think of when it comes to what happens after we leave this place. So Scotty, thank you so much. And here's the deal, maybe you are challenged by this, and maybe you have realized that you have been sinning, you have not been sinning, and you want to talk about it, and that's what groups are for. And maybe you know that you want to repent, meaning turn from it, and you want to say, okay, God, I'm ready to make a fresh start. I'm ready to sin not, and I'm ready to choose you as the Lord and Savior of my life. And that's what we want for you. And if you're ready to make that decision, we would love to know. And so when you go into your groups tonight, make sure you let your leaders know that you're ready to make that decision. We would love to help you walk through what that means for you and your life and your next steps. And so right now, you're going to actually break out into your small groups. And if you are not in one, again, we would love to know. We would love to get you connected. And so please shoot an email to sandalsyouth@sandalschurch.com and we will get you connected. Even tonight, we could hook you up with one of the youth leads at the campus nearest you and get you plugged in. And so you are dismissed to go and meet with your groups. Your leaders should be reaching out to you very shortly. And before you do go, please follow us. If you don't follow us on any of our social media platforms, just to get connected and kind of see what Sandals Church Youth is doing. I mean, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitch. Follow all of those, and we would love to connect with you all throughout the week. And so we hope you have a great group. We hope you have some great discussions, and we hope that you can continue to be real with yourselves, God, and others. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week online, and have a great group. See ya.